I was watching little snippets in and out of Angie Stone's funeral yesterday. I don't know if it was yesterday or Friday, but I saw some footage from the funeral and the service and how beautiful it was. But I remember once I told somebody that I said, "Oh, you sure know who cares about you when you die?" And the person said, "Nah, you know who care about you when you living."
That one of the biggest companies that I was with, Universal Music, it's the second part of the ugly truth. We began to research things to check on my royalties and my statements and things that of that nature, only to find out a lot of my publishing, a lot of my royalties, my mechanicals, they have all pretty much been stolen.
Songstress Angie Stone was finally laid to rest a few days ago, and even though her team is trying to make it out to be a clear-cut case, the circumstances surrounding her death just don't make sense to a lot of people, and the internet has been running wild with all sorts of conspiracies and theories. Angie's passing feels a lot like deja vu. It reminds us of how Left Eye from TLC passed back in 2002. Very similar circumstances. A tragic car accident where she ended up being the only casualty. And I ain't trying to put any conspiracies out there, but y'all, doesn't it feel kind of eerie? Why is it that every time an artist starts being more vocal about their money and starts speaking out against the record label, they somehow end up dead? A few months ago, Angie revealed that she was finding out just how badly the industry screwed her over. They stole her money throughout the 40 years she had been in the industry, and she just kept grinding like she had nothing. When truth be told, she could have retired a long time ago. So when she found this out, she was gonna do whatever needed to be done to collect the coins that were owed to her. So what are the odds that soon after she started calling around to Clive Davis, UMG, and other artists that messed her over, that she suddenly ended up in a freak accident? And isn't it a bit strange that out of all of the 9 people in the van, that she ended up being the only casualty, while the others escaped practically unscathed? Soon after she passed, the story went from Angie died while she was inside the van to she escaped, but she was later ran over by a truck. And it feels like there's so much more to the story that they aren't telling us. And above all, why haven't any of the other people involved in the accident said anything or tried to clear up any of the confusion? What makes this situation even more weird is the fact that Angie wasn't just calling out the record labels. She was pointing fingers at how labels use other artists like Mary J. Blige, Jennifer Hudson, Alicia Keys, and D'Angelo to steal her sound and sabotage her career. In her final days, Angie was starting to get a lot of traction and drawing a lot of attention to people who didn't like being called out like that, and allegedly, according to the streets, that's what led to her demise. Child, a lot has been coming out ever since Angie passed, and the more we look into it, the more it seems like our girl Angie B was set up.
How much money they have taken from me, how much they have stolen from me, monies that I'm supposed to be, I should have been able to retire 20 years ago with the money I've made, supposedly.
Is it just me, or does anything about this Angie Stone situation remind you of Fantasia? Fantasia was a workhorse in the industry with her beautiful voice, only to tell us that she was broke and had to file for bankruptcy. She said the music industry was snakish and that she was constantly being betrayed by everyone she thought had her best interest. And this was the same thing that happened to Angie. She basically dedicated her life to this machine that just chewed her up and spit her out and left her to pick up the pieces. Angie had been a musician since she was a kid, and one thing that most people don't know is that she was a part of the first ever rap group called The Sequence. They were the first ever female rappers that got a gold plaque for their song Funk You Up. The song was so fire that it had been sampled by Dr. Dre and also interpolated by Bruno Mars and Mark Ronson for their hit song Uptown Funk. But unfortunately, Angie and her group never received any type of acknowledgement or compensation for the sample, and that's where the issue of her being underappreciated started. Even though she was in a group, execs could still see that Angie had an ear for music and writing. And when the group disbanded, they kept her so that she could write songs for other artists. She was signed to Arista Records and became a songwriter for R&B artists. When she was around 30, she went solo and saw a lot of success. She had 11 studio albums and a ton of hits like No More Rain, I Wish I Didn't Miss You, Baby, and Brother. She also ventured into acting with The Fighting Temptations, Hot Chick, and Right Along. Also, did y'all know that she was the one that sang the theme song for Girlfriends? Child, I know a lot of y'all didn't know she was the voice around that until recently, but it makes sense why the theme song is so iconic. When she wasn't creating her own music, she worked with other talents like D'Angelo, Lenny Kravitz, and Prince. So there's no way you can have a discussion about neo soul without giving due respect to Angie, because she was really one of the pioneers of that sound. The thing with Angie is that she never really knew that her royalties and mechanicals were being stolen until she fell ill from a severe blood infection after an infected needle was used on her. Angie was told at the hospital that she was lucky to be alive, and she was asked if she felt that this was a spiritual attack. When she got discharged from the hospital, she started to reflect on everything, from the accomplishments that she has made throughout her career to the people that were meant to be there helping her. All this time, Angie thought she had nothing, only to realize that UMG has been and still is receiving all of her mechanicals and royalties for over 4 decades while she's never seen a dime. The team that Angie hired to find out what was going on with her work discovered that about 40 songs were stolen from her. There was absolutely no publishing in her name, and most songs weren't even registered to her. The team found out that there was a lot of shady business happening with her registration, which allowed the label to pocket $50 million that belonged to Angie.
There's no reason she should have been dealing with any sort of struggles when her music is worth so much money, when her music was generating so much money for her. She should have never had to go on the road, which is, she didn't want to. She didn't want to be on the road. But if you knew Angie, she was all about taking care of her family, and she was all about taking care of people.
Angie said she started fighting for her legacy for herself, her children, and her grandchildren, and wasn't going to allow UMG to get away with it, only for her to end up dead soon after. The Sprinter van flipped over 3 times before it was hit by a truck. Angie was pronounced dead on the scene, while others, including the driver, were taken to the hospital for treatment. And the details around the accident are so eerie that some people believe that she might even have been offed in the van before the accident. With the way that none of the passengers are speaking out, in a way it's giving that it was premeditated, because why haven't they said anything even up until this point? What makes it even more suspicious is the man that just so happened to be driving the van at the time of the accident. Imagine being driven around by someone called Lethal Carter with a rap sheet as long as a CVS receipt. I mean, a quick search on this man would show that he wasn't fit to be driving around a kiddie car, much less a vehicle that Angie Stone was going to be in. The driver didn't even have a valid license. So how was he allowed to be anywhere near this vehicle? This is why people are suspecting that the whole accident could have been planned. She wasn't just going against UMG, but she has started to expose a lot of evils in the industry and how the labels use artists such as Alicia Keys and Mary J. Blige, even her baby daddy D'Angelo, to sabotage her career. Her relationship with D'Angelo was one of the biggest headaches of her career because no one believed that she was good enough for him. So after they eventually broke up, Angie revealed that an employee under D'Angelo was given specific instructions to spread lies about her. They were even going to destroy her reputation and make the public believe that she was responsible for his drug and alcohol addiction.
You can imagine how shocked I was to know that they actually mailed letters out into the industry blaming me for the fall and the demise of someone's career. It really gets me upset to destroy my credibility by way of making me look crazy in a relationship that was innocent and pure and real. As a matter of fact, it was so real and pure, you could tell by the nourishment of the music then was just pleasant, it was real, it was pure. As a result, and I can only imagine the damage that stuff did to my career.
They also said that she was disrespectful and difficult to work with, and D'Angelo really didn't do anything to rail them in, since he didn't like that she was getting credit for the work he put out. Angie also expressed how disappointed she was when Mary J. Blige recorded 2 songs with D'Angelo called Paradise and Every Day. Angie mentored Mary and helped her get her start, but Mary has never shown any type of gratitude or acknowledgement in the hand that Angie had in her career.
We weren't really happy with her mimicking me or trying to lock into my vocals because, I had a rhythm thing that was, I'm not saying that Mary wasn't good or didn't have a rhythm, but when you're a songwriter and you're a singer and you do what you do, you're not going to settle for the lesser version. Why would you take mine? Why would you take from me? I've never stolen a song in my career. Why would you do that? You don't have to. You are a megastar. You are a multimillionaire. You have everything and everyone in your corner. Not to mention, in the very beginning when no one was believing in you, I stood there. I believed in Mary J. Blige.
When Angie was at the height of her career, there were so many opportunities that she didn't get because of her weight. Music execs felt that she didn't have the image that they wanted. So instead of letting her do her thing, they sort of swiped her style and sound and passed it along to Jill Scott.
Scheduled to perform at an award ceremony, and we were doing sound check. They wanted to do a dress rehearsal. Same had carried for over here, I guess is over there. So I walked out on stage with a tie-dye dress on for my part to say, this is what I'm wearing. This was my TV moment. And Jill walked out from the other side of the stage with the exact same dress.
Angie's team also worked against her when she was up for the role, the #1 ladies detective agency, and basically handed the role over to Jill Scott when Angie was originally the top choice for it. Now that Angie is gone, other celebs are speaking up about how the industry did her dirty and just how underappreciated she was this whole time.
But to think that this woman was in the business for all of these years, and there's a difference between performing because you want to and performing because you have to. All of those years, all of those songs, all of that money that was owed to her, where is it? It's wrong. It is wrong. And I'm tired of seeing us struggle and go through things and work hard and not reap the benefits of what we were supposed to reap.
But wouldn't it have been better if she had gotten her flowers while she was still alive and able to appreciate them? And if they saw what was happening and didn't do anything or say anything about it until now, then that's just insane. And aren't they just as much of the problem? Child, the people have been in their feelings throughout this whole ordeal because we really lost such a legendary icon. Getting hit by an 18-wheeler and the car flipped 3 times? My God, she deserves so much better than the industry gave her. All she wanted was respect and just due flowers. Angie Stone called out Clive Davis and the industry and magically ended up in a car accident? Let's not act like we haven't seen this play before. Angie Stone's passing still doesn't seem real to me. The way she went out is so sad. But do y'all think that this was an accident, or do you suspect that there's more to it? Sound off in the comments, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, baddies.